everybody, my name is Emma, and the other day I got the opportunity to have an hour session hands-on with the Gamescom Dark Souls 3 demo. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to capture any footage, but I have put links in the description to the section that I'm talking about that IGN recorded, like, through a TV screen. I don't know. They have footage, so I'm going to link that there. Since a lot of people have already given their impressions on the game, I'm going to go through the 4 things that I really noticed when I played this game compared to Bloodborne and compared to the other Souls games. So let's go. Number 1, from the second I got into this demo, I was straight reminded how nice it is to be back in a Souls game again. As most of you guys know, Bloodborne was sort of the spiritual successor to the Souls series, but there was a lot of mechanical differences in the game, which gave it a really different feel. So the second I got it back into there, I'm having my shield up again and being very wary, and that is quite different to the way Bloodborne plays. I think sort of some characteristics that describes Dark Souls to me is you have this sort of helplessness and fear in those games. So whilst in Bloodborne you were rewarded for being really aggressive, in Dark Souls you're rewarded for being very defensive and calculating how your enemy is going to move before you actually hit them. This perfect feeling is described when I was playing the demo, and there was a couple of branching paths I could go to into where I was going next, and I sort of looked out into the distance in one of the paths and I could see 2 knights, and I was sort of like, I ain't going there. Like, you get that feeling of, I don't think I can take these things on, I'm going to have to be very careful, and I just decided to go the other way. And that is, again, the feeling that you don't get really in Bloodborne, so I'm glad that's back because it sort of requires you to do a bit of extra thinking. The second big thing I noticed when I was playing this demo is the actual environment that they've set this demo in, and in about 1 second of getting into it, I was like, this is Demon Souls. This reminds me of Demon Souls so much. It was set in this drab, seemingly empty castle, which was filled again with a lot of enemies jumping out at you straight. There was a lot of knights in there, but the actual just look and feel of it reminded me so much of Demon Souls, that first castle level. In the demo, there was a section with this fire-breathing dragon, and you sort of had to run up and run back until the dragon breathed fire, and then you could run through, and I'm just getting so many flashback memories. The other thing I noticed in the environment, it is very vertical, so there was a lot of going up and down stairs, there was a lot of ladders, there was a lot of hidden pathways, which is usual with the series. But I do think that it was sort of a lot more vertical in its structure than I experienced in Bloodborne. The third really cool thing that was in the Dark Souls 3 demo was the actual boss fight in itself. I didn't actually end up defeating the boss. I probably had about 6 goes at trying to defeat it. I got it one time down to 1/3 health, but it got me, damn it. I was like, I'm gonna defeat this by the time I finish this demo, but I didn't have time. In Souls fashion, the boss in this was absolutely fabulous. So the boss is called the Dancer of Frigid Valley. It sort of reminded me of Vic of Amelia a bit in terms of the actual aesthetic of it looks like it's wearing a wedding veil, but it moves completely different to Vicar Amelia. So the one word that I would use to describe this boss is graceful. The way it moved through the environment, it was very light how it was moving to you. It had a sort of swaying movement while it was heading towards you with 2 swords on it. And in its dancer fashion, like, it had this spinning move, which isn't in the IGN gameplay, where it just continued to do like pirouettes. Again, the Souls series is really well known for its boss design, and this delivered 10 billion% in my opinion. Also, the soundtrack when you're in this boss room, it had this sort of dreary pulsing sound that would get a bit more intense as you were getting through the boss fight. It really just fit its visuals and the whole vibe they were going for, like, to perfection. And number 4 is to do with your movement and your combat. So one of the things I noticed straight up with this game is the fact that it is a lot faster in, like, your rolls compared to the other Souls game. Obviously, Bloodborne, you were so encouraged to be agile and rolling everywhere. So they sort of picked up a bit of that. You still get punished if you're trying to roll everywhere and not using your shield, especially if you're an advanced player of these games, because that isn't how Souls games are supposed to be played, but there is a bit more movement compared to the regular Souls games. I really liked it. Like, it is that good balance. It wasn't too much that I was like, oh, this is doesn't feel that much like Souls anymore. It was just enough that I could noticeably feel the movement was different. It also included a thing called Sword Arts mechanic, where you hold down the left trigger and you'd have a completely different moveset in your weapon. And these Sword Arts effectiveness was determined by, you actually had a number underneath the sign of your covenant at the top, and if you exhausted all that number, then your Sword Arts would be less powerful. So you sort of can think about it as like a special attack, really. I didn't get to use them as much as possible, just because I was really focusing on trying to get to the end of the game, but I thought the most effective one of that was they had a lot of things that could break an opponent's guard, so I really liked the inclusion of that. And that is all the things that I sort of noticed in the Dark Souls 3 demo. If you guys have any questions about it, please leave it in the comments below and I will try my best to give you my best answer on it. Thank you everybody for watching. If you are new here, please go check out some of my other videos, and if you like them, make sure you subscribe. And if you haven't already, go jump on and follow me on Twitter, which is where I talk about a lot more video games. Cheers everybody, and I'll see you again next video. Bye!